welcome everyone to another Camas Sunday service. I was walking up today just 10:15. I saw they had a church up there, up the road, and I almost walked in to check out how they do the Latter-day Saint service. But now we've got my own over here. I'll just stay in the light, literally the sun, and come over here. So we have a beautiful service today, kind of planned in the sense that the topic is there is no problem. So we're going to say that 100 different ways today, and even be open to letting the potential problems up into awareness. But we thought we'd like to start with a song from Kirtana called Be Free that really kind of emphasizes the idea. Mel and I had a joining last night. She texted me this thing and had two choices in her mind. One, is there really a problem? And the other one was, well, maybe there is. The fishes are the people.
Wow. Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you. That's nice.
Isn't that beautiful though? How simple, like, just to stay with that presence, presence, just give everything you've got to it. Just going for a little walk today. Or that's what God meant when He gave Moses the tablets of the 10 Commandments. Have no idols before me, no graven images before me. Man, give over all of them so you can be with me. Not burn your golden cows, And 2,000 years later, it's the same message.
Or be trapped in your school.
Yeah. Yeah, just to be so on purpose, having that purpose out front that there's really nothing else. We were having a discussion this morning about, what's the call for the church service? And there was a kind of a unanimous feeling that there's no problem. Is it? And we even pulled out the section from Course in Miracles, Lesson 79. Let me recognize my problems. Let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. I kind of mixed 79 and 80 there in one, but let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. And the point of that whole lesson that I always loved was near the end where he says, to the extent you do not attempt to define the problem, is to the extent you will get this lesson. And the lesson, of course, is the experience. So for the experience to be alive, you must refuse to let your mind attempt to define the problem. There is no problem. I mean, it's so simple, and that's what every lesson is hitting towards. And even lesson 80 is, let me recognize my problems have been solved. He gives you like one version of it. Here's an attempt. Let's find the problem. Slips in one line there. Just don't attempt to define it. Next day, let's see, all your problems have been solved. I alluded to it the day before. It's it. I mean, the unanimous feeling was, no matter what, even if the Holy Spirit wants to let specifics come through for perceived problems, our path now is, there is no problem.
Let's start with that awareness too, when those issues do come up. If we start with the awareness there's not a problem, we're not going to create problems in our attempts to correct it.
That was it. That was our experience last night, really.
Huge.
Yeah. As soon as you have a problem, then you need an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the problem has to have a victim and a victimized solution. And then what caused that? And it's a bad river to be in.
Oh yeah.
It's just the matrix, then you're in the matrix.
Yeah.
That's why the fishes are
It is the
confused.
matrix. Yeah.
As they search.
Wow.
Fishes are confused.
confused and searching for the self. Because then there's always has to be a solution outside of the self. And that is the problem, if there was a problem.
Yeah, the simplicity of it. Last night you were in an experience of, actually maybe there's no problem. And then a fragment of the mind seems to say, but maybe there is. And you texted that version rather than, there's no problem. And so we joined, and it seemed like there was like a time loop. But we came right back to, there's no problem actually, and we're just like laughing. Just to get to that point.
But even for me, like the decision point, because I could see, because I feel like my whole training here, I've been here for 3 weeks with Jason, it's just been to be called into this deep assignment of life just now, and with Lila, but I heard in my mind coming down in the car that I was coming to be the bride of Christ, like symbolically. So yeah, it's just been this. I don't even know what I was saying.
Well, you were legally, you're married to Michael up there in Canada, and you came down here and married the bride of Christ, married Jesus, and for whatever reason, I was a symbol of that for you. And actually, we were guided by Lila to go to Justin's restaurant in Bistro 412 in Park City, and we just went with it. We showed up, and there's lots of stuff going on, and people serving us food and cheese, and all of a sudden it just like came out of me. It's like, I can't marry you if you don't take off that ring. And she was like, and then I forget the details, but within 5 minutes you like had the ring and passed it off, and then she's like, you better be serious about that. I'm like, oh, I am. Just symbolically that in order to marry the present moment and true Jesus, you can't be married to anybody, really. Now the symbols may be used, come and go, marriage, divorce is part of the plan, but you in your heart cannot really be married to anybody. And so that was like the start of our assignment around Jesus, Spirit now.
Yeah, it's beautiful that you mentioned even school, because I see them as the same thing. So for me it's been, I really had no idea how much I was not married to Jesus. Like Jason has said to me over and over, this is going to take a level of devotion that you've never had before. I'm like, wow, I thought I was so devoted already, but really, for me, the drug of choice being the marriage, even though it was used in purpose and has been used in purpose for years, was like hiding still the thought that I was a person in the world, like the authority problem basically. So it feels like the last 3 weeks of just being so willing to just be wrong continuously about what I think I know, what I think I need, and what I think I am, and just be willing to just drop it and just join the present moment has come to just this experience actually of that there really is no problem. To the point where last night Jason left my room and I went to bed and I started praying, and I'm like, who am I praying to? I am Jesus, I am the Christ. Who would I even pray to now?
There's no problem.
It seems ridiculous, yeah. What would the prayer be, And then I shared that with you this morning, and you said, oh, you are the prayer. I was like, that's a beautiful experience to be having. It's like, I've been reading the Course for years, but it feels like just coming into this present I am experience. And in that there is no problem. And I could see last night, even when I sent the text message, are you up? This is my, link, if my mind seems to be off. It's like, yes, and I'm sitting there and thinking maybe there's not really any problem, because I'm kind of cottoning onto it the last 3 weeks. And just to see that thought of 1 foot over the ladder into the matrix, and okay, we'll come up anyway. I can't even remember what I sent to you, but then we seem to be going round and round looking for a problem. And even at the point where I saw there was no problem, and I said to him, could it be this simple? There's then my mind started looking for what I had to do. What was the problem that I thought there was a problem?
After
it's so sneaky, even after you come into the present moment experience of there's no problem. So it's so cool, actually, just seeing the dynamics of the ego in play, and that it is a choice. The fishes are confused and searching for the sea, and I've been fish confused looking into the sea to tell me who I am, and it's not in the sea. I am it. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. No authority in that?
There's no outside coercion, there's no one telling me what to do in that, there's nothing. I am it. I am the will and the desire, Father and Son.
You're free.
It's done.
Yes.
Devin.
Yeah, that's all we wanted to share today. Is that we're free, like there are no bars in that song. And yet I've just been watching, like especially this last week, just like the authority problem, like the little identity. I said to Lila at one point during the week, I went off for a walk and I came back and was lying on a bed and I felt like I could see the little self, like a 2-year-old on a stage, like just having tantrums. It's like, oh my God, I'm really bored with this story, you know. And Ricky's line from her song about putting down the script, walking off the set, walking off the stage, busting through the set. It's like, it's really not that entertaining anymore. It's not as all-consuming as the present one. It's been massive. It's been so quick too. Like 3 years. It was like how long did I say? 3 weeks. 3 minutes. It was like a millennium. It's like, yes, that's a gift. So it feels like that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
And then in our conversation this morning in the group, it seemed like there were stages that seemed very helpful, like Eric was sharing.
Stepping stones.
Stepping stones to this highest note of that there is no problem.
And you're worthy of the highest state, though. You're ready now. It's available. You need to know, that the kingdom of heaven is within you. You are it. It's everything. You can give it. There's no time needed for this. It's simply a matter of desire. Like those 5 rings of David's with desire, belief, I forget now, thought, emotion, perception. It's like desire is all that's needed for this. And with the desire, time is not an element. Time is only an element when you've lost and you're in the you're a fish. To just give all your whole heart to that pure desire. Time is not important anymore. And then rest assuredly that if there seems to be a blip and you're lost, there are steps available to return home. And that is the purpose of guidance and stepping stones. Because Jesus is so kind. He's so loving. He will, if you're not able to back yourself out of that corner and you want to play around in the room a little bit, He'll guide you through the room in a way that brings you back to the corner when you're ready again to say, let me step out. The analogy being that Peter's prayer was, back me into a corner, God. Put me into a place where the only escape is you, rather than something in the form.
Yeah, that makes me think of what I was remembering this morning about the little willingness, like that I've seen over the last 3 weeks. I thought I had huge willingness, but really, when it comes right down to the core of the identity, the authority problem, that it's taken, like, there might only be a spark of willingness in my mind, but that Jesus promises, like, all the might of Spirit's willingness is behind your tiny little fragment of a spark, and that's all I've needed, like just the willingness to be okay. And drop the defences, like I actually had no idea how defended our still was against, like what you were saying about the, being backed into a corner. So finally, before you left last night, I was like, oh, thank you for being so patient with me. As a Spirit, a lot more patient than I am.
There's even a line he threw in there. He said, from your recognition of your unwillingness, my willingness can come in and take you. Now, isn't that cool?
Yeah, so loving.
It's just even better, very loving. Just recognize your own unwillingness.
Yeah.
And boom, that's enough for a change of mind. celebrating the simplicity of salvation. Okay. Salvation without compromise. Because there can be no compromise in this. There can be no and, no buts, no but. No. No. Not a no.
I have a thought to share. Just the solution would be to see every moment as you are backed into a corner, and the only solution is God.
Yeah. The way out. That's what Canvas is representing. For everyone that comes here, it's like a final idol place. It's like, you know, they have those shows.
Final Idol.
What are those shows? American Idol. You know? Instead of that, who's going to be the next big idol? It's like, it's here. What's your last idol? Lay it on the table. You've done American Idol in other lifetimes. If that works, I don't know. It's like, lay it on the table now. Be honest. Lay your last idols on the table. Lay your last idols on the table and give them over to God. But if you cling to them here in Canvas, they become so apparent. Your whole team, we're a team, we're one mind here. And the whole team, it's like bait on a hook. Hopefully that came out right.
SWAT team.
It's like, we're like, in Heaven Almighty, when he was given over to God, everywhere he went, the animals were all over him. And there was a scene in the fish tank where he was like, basically saying no to God and trying to get away, but the fishes were following his head, like going wherever he was going. Like the fishes were on him. Here, it's like that here. Your mighty companions, they're on you. They're with you because of that deep call for such union and for those final idols to be revealed and replaced by God, that we have no choice. It's just the purpose here. We're going so deep with this ministry that all of the centers are coming into this vibe now, that you must get in that vibe, or there'll just be another place for you. Again, back to that, Jesus will guide you through the room. But these places are just becoming so symbolic of that deep, deep purpose. It's like, come on, no one's left behind. No one gets kicked out. You kick yourself out.
Yeah.
No one can kick yourself. You kick yourself.
It's intense. If you have some little willingness, like just hanging in there.
Yeah.
It's been really quick.
Yeah, we're going for it together. One time when I was falling down big time, called David up and gave me this analogy of like, we're all holding hands, walking through a field. Like, there's 11 or 12 of us in the mind at the time. We're walking through the field, and if one stumbles and falls, can they really bang their head on the ground, or even their knees, for holding each other so tightly? They stumble, it's like, you know, oh, no, thank you. But if you let go of those hands and stumble, it's like it could be a little rumble, tumble, turn, and then a visit to the hospital, and then you got to find out where the big group is and go back. And so this vigilance for stay with me, stay with your mighty companions, it's just the light way. It's easy because you don't end up in the hospital. You know, it's a self-study course, but like listening to Jenny and Greg's Spain thing the other day, it's a self-study course. Gary Hassler, a friend of ours who came and lived in the community, said, what is this about community when it's a self-study course? Well, it's a self-study course, but the deeper you go and you see that the Course in Miracles is a path in relationships, a lot of the things that need to be undone, such as shyness or control or whatever, if you want an accelerated path, then your mighty companions, like he says in the development of trust section in A Course in Miracles, will come to you. Your mighty companions, when you are ready, will be given. Or the teacher-student section, when the teacher is ready, the student appears, and the student appears. I mean, this, you can't just isolate self-study course as if it's a body off on its own. This is probably not your path if that's what you read into it. It's actually relationships. Do what I ask you to do. You'll be sent among your you know, you can feel me. Many busy doings, you know. Like, let's not forget all of these sections, too. We go home, 2 by 2 to the ark. Metaphor still, but it's like using them.
I love that line in the development of trust because it says something like, the teacher of God has not come as far as he thinks, and yet from this point he will go with mighty companions beside him because we need them now.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful state of humility.
Yeah.
Because we're not people, it's the mind waking up.
Mind.
Yeah.
The community is the mind.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's not bodies.
I brought my friend Tatsy in with me, so she's here with us. And she's in California, and we were studying on the way here. And I said, well, I'm bringing you in. So you're here.
It's like our baby star. When you draw out the hands, can you the baby star? Like that you can't really fall down. Because that's our symbol of you have a steady mind at the moment.
Right.
Can you roll?
Oh, I'm like, what?
It's kind of how we all are. It's like, I'm talking about the hands. We're like, oh, okay, I'm the Christ. Now what?
It's baby Christ. There's full Christ. Baby Christ.
It's a little dazzling, but might know how to walk.
It's not straight up yet.
He's in space. No orientation needed.
Not located.
There's no-
Unlocated happening.
Yeah, the tree's crooked, not the star.
Starts better. I keep hearing Eric in my mind, so I don't know if you have something to share or a song or what you were speaking about this morning.
Yeah, it's not really empty at the moment.
Is there any thought? Thoughts, questions, miracles?
This morning, felt like Bag Lady. I don't know if you've ever seen Labyrinth. There was this little lady, and she's just so covered with stuff. All you see are her little legs. Because I had all these problems that I was wrestling with, and I was embarrassed because I felt, well, the community knows, and they're not judging you, because I was holding all of you, you know. And so I said, just put everything away and study, and just be present, just be quiet. And I just kept working until the really awful sense of suffering and pain wasn't so intense. But I was so embarrassed because I thought, I felt like I would never be okay, and then I went, you are okay. Anyway, I'm here. And there are only solutions, not problems. But I felt like, actually it's kind of humorous if you look at her. You know, she has pots and pans hanging up. I had all this stuff. The school, the horses, the kids, the staff. Should I come? Should I go? I just moved my ring over here because that was my wedding, that's my band and commitment to the earth, and I thought also to the world and all the rest of the baggage that went along with it. And so I'm here in the community, whether I'm sitting in this chair or wherever I am. And I love you guys. And thank you, Christ. I haven't run any other words. I'm here. And I am grateful. comes through you, through all of you, and through me too. So there.
I just returned from the retreat in Japala. Why Wait for Heaven? It was absolutely beautiful, absolutely. And so many things came to light, and I feel so much more light because the self-concepts that you were talking about, a lot of those have been loosened, and I didn't realize the attachments with my weakness, that I am my weakness, and I didn't realize how associated, and that's loosened so much. I am not my weakness. It's just an expression, and it's not who I am. My sexual orientation was another one that I just really clam onto, and here was the experience of that. I fell in love with somebody down there, and of course, it being another man, it was like, oh, I can't tell him, I can't approach, I can't be honest, and I did the vertical prayer and said, what do I do with this? And the first thing that came to me was expression session. Bring that to the little group, and I did that. I was very generic, of course. I wasn't, I'm attracted to him. It was just an attraction, and I used the word lust even. And what came out of that was be open, be honest, that even got to the general session, and that was what David said, was just be honest and open. And I went to this guy and I said, can we join? I need to express. And I had earlier told him about my left-sided, losing my health, losing my career, losing the love of my life. And I always say the love of my life. I don't say wife, I don't say she, I don't, just love of my life, and you decide what that is. But I was able to join with him and say, the rest of the story is that love of my life was not my wife, it was my husband, and I am extremely attracted to you. You are just the most beautiful, handsome man I've ever, and he was flattered. Of course, the very first thing he said, I'm not into that. It's like, I'm asserting his, and my response was, I didn't think you would be. I just had to be honest and open with you. But here's the miracle that came out of that. That love that I felt for him, it got generalized, and I'm in love. I'm in love with him. It isn't a body. It isn't I'm just in love. And so many things came from that. Just a loosening of the concepts, and it was like, wow, what an incredible journey this is. And as you were talking about community and making it real specific, we're all community. It's all, and David even said that about people saying that they want to join community or that they want to leave community. It means nothing to him, because we're all in this thing. I have my mighty companions that are they're absolutely beautiful, and I do feel that was another thing that came really clear to me. I am in my function, I am in my purpose. And when I'm really there, joy, peace, healing. And not just me, it's just everywhere. It's like, wow, it just radiates out and radiates back. It's just so beautiful, so sweet. But yeah, just exciting, absolutely exciting stuff. So, thank you for letting me.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You didn't hold back on the love or how it seemed, and then it just went
Just everywhere.
Oh, such a
And I guess the other thing that I saw, the concept was, I was looking for that one person to fulfill me, to complete me. And I shared that as part of that, and that isn't what it's, we all have a tendency to do that, thinking that something out there is going to fit. It's this, the vertical. That's the only source, that's the completion. And it's not a complete me, it's recognizing that we are complete, whole, innocent. Just recognizing that. That really came, just so beautiful. It was like, wow. So.
I feel Just that is so reflected in Facebook right now because all those people go out with, I am in a relationship, and that is with the Christ. Like, I've seen like 10 of them just the last 2 weeks. It's very beautiful. I keep feeling the energy around coming up and sharing. Eric talked about this morning, but I'm not sure if it's me or him. Do
Go
that?
ahead,
Yeah, I kept hearing that there was something helpful though.
Yeah.
Offering.
Because I felt there was something with that the moment you shared it. And, what I call is the belief, that I always talk about nowadays, just to look at the beliefs. And I think you said, like, in this message, let me recognize that my problem has been solved, which is the highest, we can do that, we are free, in the moment, truly. But if we can't, we can't just say, let me recognize my problem has been solved. It's just a phrase. We still have emotion or, a block. And go and talk about it. Go to that person that you are stuck with, And that's what I felt. That's what I picked up from Eric sharing this morning. And that's so powerful. That's what we do all the time. And the problem is resolved, from that. Just want to say hi to everyone too. Greg and I are back from Spain. Yeah.
I heard him say something else actually.
What did you?
He said the stepping stone.
What did you say? He's just said something about that in the moment it's just like a willingness that you see that it's something that you think you want a certain way or you want to look a certain way or be a certain way, and just the willingness to let that go. It's like a stepping stone to that there is no problem.
Yeah, like I see it as, like there's this belief, like the highest or the deepest belief is the belief that I can be separate from God, but then from that belief splinters down into like a pyramid of specific beliefs. And so we're, unless we're enlightened, we're working our way up the pyramid through our false belief system. And so anytime I feel any conflict in myself, anything off, then, it's always because I'm bumping up against one of those beliefs. Like there's a conflict between what I'm perceiving happening out there versus how I believe things should be. And so every moment that I feel anything but happiness is an opportunity to question the next belief up the pyramid. And it may be that someone has left all their food on the counter and then they left, and I get upset and I go, okay, I guess I could get angry and go talk to them, or I could go, okay, wait, hold on, I'm willing to do that too, because that may be the guidance. It may be just guided to go, use a magic solution and go talk to the person and say, hey, you need to clean up your shit, Or it may be a combination of that plus like questioning, okay, why am I upset though? I don't want to be triggered every time I see someone leave their stuff out. So I have a belief about how people should be and what a responsible person does, and I can be willing to just look at that. So that was what I was, just basically starting from wherever we perceive ourselves to be, because ultimately, there's never a problem. There's never ever a problem except a perceptual problem, which is perceiving through a lens of beliefs. First fragmenting the world into parts and saying that part is different from that part than that part, and then making relationships between all the parts and how they should interact and how they should harmonize. So, as we just question each belief, the division lines and our perceptions slowly get erased until we start to just see things gradually more and more holistically to the point where suddenly it's a dawns that everything literally is one image that isn't fragmented at all.
That was in the Matrix.
Yeah.
When it went to one, because as you were talking, I was thinking, the fishes get confused in the fragmentation and think it's a sea. It's not. And then it's really confusing because they can't, their gills don't work. Nothing works.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can, the bag lady thing for me was you're just so burdened with stuff, you just think that maybe you're just this automaton that has to carry this stuff around. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Because I had all these appointments set up today of what to do and how to solve all this stuff. So it was just one gigantic problem piggybacking. There's nothing there. So they're just, let it go, let God. They're just solutions to find.
Saying yes to God.
Saying yes. Actually, no, because if I say there's solutions to find, I'm still holding on to some problem. I'm going to find that one. So it's more about the
It's more like there's
going to
beliefs.
the corner.
There's beliefs to uncover,
Yeah.
beliefs to expose and question.
Because I didn't even know how to express anything until now. And I don't have to bother myself with that one either. It'll come out.
It's like there's that movie, Waking Life, the cartoon, kind of cartoonish movie where the whole movie, he's like in a dream within a dream, trying to find the solution to how do I wake up from this dream, and then find I wake up and I'm in another dream. You could say that's symbolic of
Yeah.
going up layers of beliefs and problems. But in the very end is the scene that we all, really touches our hearts, where it gets this Lady Gregory story, but it's the end where he says, all the time it's just God posing the question. God saying, come over the corner. Do you want to wake up? Do you want to wake up? And we're here saying,
Yeah.
no, but yes. We're here now saying yes. Yes to that. And to see the simplicity of that, I feel it's everything now. It's really everything. You are my mind, and I'm telling you, for this state of mind to stay stable, pure and innocent, it's everything. It's the only thing left, is just to say yes to God. Hold His hand. Let Him pull us up that straw, We had a beautiful analogy the other day where something like everybody was identifying with a piece of fruit or something. And then Eric said, hold on, let's just put them all in the blender, mix them up, and you got a milkshake. You got a milkshake. We are the milkshake. We are
Smoothie for God.
We're smoothie for God. We're not individual pieces of fruit.
And then Sarah said, don't be a fruity, be a smoothie. Which doesn't have the definition of its individual fruits anymore, but it retains the essence of all the juice.
And
the
harmony.
essence. Yeah.
And beauty.
That's what happens when we come together. We get blended.
So is that not even a helpful stepping stone then? To a heart and mind?
I think it's all beautiful in the tapestry, and you'll hear in everyday life and in the world, practical solutions to what seem to be real problems. And I just feel like here, you just need to know that it's available now. There's no time required, and if we give our whole hearts to this, and there's these services and ways to connect in, and it's available now. We don't need time. We don't need specific problems, specific answers. In ladder of prayer and song of prayer, I forget it all, but when you say, I only want God, all the tiny prayers are answered. All of the specifics, they're given too. They're not lost. So you don't lose the specifics that are part of the plan when you say, I'm going only for God. The overtones and all of that, they're part of it.
So no more mind training. Because I can see part of my mind still thinks that catapults the mind, like that's a level of mind training that catapults the mind into what we're offering, which is I feel like where my mind is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's dominant.
Well, it seems necessary.
I didn't hear you. What holds the mind?
I don't even know what I just said. Just like what he was offering, like catapults the mind into what we've been offering this morning, which is that there is no problem and I am in Christ. There seems to be like a level of mind training, looking at all the beliefs. What do I think? I just see one of those ancient catapults.
Well, it's like, you've heard David say, and it's a process until it's an instant.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And it's really just an
And
instant.
it's just an instant.
It's really just an instant.
Yeah, I think that the catapult is the intensity. The intensity is not the problem. It's pointing you deep into that corner and pointing you up to God. And the intensity will just pop you into the answer forever. Like the consistent answer. Because you don't want answers to problems. You want the answer that you're innocent, that you've never done anything, and that you are not the problem solver. That the answer has been given. You want to hop into that. So there's a time where it seems helpful to start looking at beliefs and addressing those and then you get relief. Why? Because you feel in control. So good, feel relief, but you don't want to be released from your problems until you see you never had any. You want to be released into the true answer, so you want to stay with God till then. And it's like, I had a friend ring me once and she said, Sarah, what do you do, when these problems come up? And I was so happy that day. I just remember being so happy and thinking, oh no, I don't know that I can talk about the intensity of the problem, and yet I want to be truly helpful. What is it in this moment? Give me the answer. What is it? And even had this split-second thought of, would I just say I'm busy or something, right? And I opened my mouth and I try to remember that I am the answer, that I'm in the answer, and I do everything to allow myself to trust and soften into that. And in that relief, anything that's given for me to do is helpful, but it won't necessarily even address what I thought was happening. And if I'm really willing to soften into the answer and only operate from that space, then I'm in solution, everything is clean. And that's why I really feel that we could spend millennium addressing problems, and even as we do and we get that relief from feeling a little bit of control of something being resolved, we really don't want to go too far from remembering that we are doing nothing, that it's all given, and as soon as we're ready, as soon as we feel safe enough, we can put our hands down and just be in answer all the time. Stuff will always happen, but you will be in a soft answer all the time. It's an experience you're going for, not a perfect world. I feel that so strongly, that we're so worthy of that right now, and I don't want there to be another thought that we have to wait or figure something out, especially ourselves.
I feel like we're having a demonstration of what we've been talking about, because 10 minutes ago when we fell into meditation, I felt like we were down in a home song. And then we like we're trying to figure out something, speak to something.
We're under Christ's control.
Yeah, it's done.
And yet we think we're the doers.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
No.
Thank you for being done.
It says here, it says, how will this play out in form? The form, whatever it appears to be, must be perceived from the flow, from the miracle's perspective to the experience as whole. So, when you're in the holiness, in the present moment, then whatever expresses in form is coming from spirit. It's expressing not from my little personal self and my bag lady concept. It's coming from something from Christ's control, command control. So we really are hollow reeds, panpipes of God.
It's like, this is new for me. If you've seen all the gatherings that Jason has done, this is new. And what's so fresh about it for me is that I have no choice in this moment but to say it's an instant. And it's only an instant, right now. If part of the mind is like, can't absorb into that, it's like, no, it's right now. Can we join in that possibility, in that experience, that truth, right now? Everything else is an attempt to dilute it. Everything. It's right here, right now. That's the freshness.
That's what's so cool about it. Like, I'm just sitting here feeling like, because it's so new to me too, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is fairly an instant ago. And that when I thought I heard Eric, and it's like, no, I thought there was a problem. Oh, there's a problem. So like all of the last 15 minutes is played out to my mind to witness, oh, there's problems in my mind. I just heard, we were done and here's your song. You know, and had I been willing to speak that instead, it's like I could just see the mind. That's all what happened for me anyway. I can't speak to anyone else. And then I felt lost, and then I can see she's looking at me like, no, just stay here.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's what I
Right
want
now.
too. So I'm just like looking, what happened then in my mind?
Nothing! Nothing ever happened.
wrong.
Nothing ever could.
Again, we need the third chair. We thought we did.
See, this is the divine orchestration.
So cool.
I just, yeah, I just feel that this is the divine orchestration, because it is involuntary. There's nothing went wrong. There is no problem. It was perfectly set up because we're listening and allowing the Spirit to use the form. So it's like, it's all involuntary. The words, the orchestration, the dance, it's because we really only want to know the truth of who we are and be in that experience. And, you know, everything gets played out just for that. And it's like to remember. It's like, oh, okay, it looked like the skit on the screen was, you know, drifting off. There was a storyline to it. It's like, oh no, there's no storyline. And it was just beautifully orchestrated. I just have to say, to be over there witnessing it, and go, holy cow, this is brilliant. And they're thinking, Brian could have never
It's cool.
thought this through, you know? So, yeah, I just...
Don't look back must be the key.
Yeah.
You know, you will be wrong when you try to piece together what happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But you can feel it. Like I felt so crystal clear through the whole thing and alive, and then suddenly it's just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and use it
It's
now.
like soup. Yeah, I'm like, okay, what is it, Jimmy? What's happening in the mind?
Tiger moment.
Turn
This
it
is
back.
beautiful. This is really
Tiger moment.
Take a lot of vision.
That's tiger moment.
That's too late, I guess.
Didn't know Kim Walker.
Yeah, close your eyes though when you start singing, and you'll think it's Kim Walker if you've heard
Here I am before you, falling in love, seeking
Absolutely amazing.
The whole world's in that.